Adequate notice of this meeting of the mayor and council was sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Co-Star, our official newspapers, and notice was posted on the bulletin board and the borough's website. Take roll call. Councilman Lubin?
Here.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Here.
Councilman Maroney?
Here.
And Councilman de Blasio is absent, and Mayor Donovan.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops, their families, and our first responders, and for Dolly Parton, who passed away this afternoon as a true American music legend and humanitarian.
As always, I will review the items on our agenda and then we'll move on to workshop discussion. First, I would like to congratulate Councilman Kevin Maroney on his appointment to the Harbor Commission. So that is our first resolution there. Then we have an administrative item. We're required to appoint a fund commissioner and alternate fund commissioner to attend monthly meetings of our joint insurance fund. These roles will be fulfilled by our clerk and our borough administrator. We have a resolution for some special events that includes a 9th Avenue block party and Pilates on the beach in September. And finally, there's a resolution to fill a vacancy at the Belmar Housing Authority, which shall go to Lisa Orchard, who previously served 20 years in that capacity. We welcome her expertise back to the board in service of our seniors. And the one ordinance we have on the agenda today will amend our code. This is a result of an issue a resident actually raised here. It outlaws construction, maintenance, operations, or utility work on any Sundays and federal holidays and establishes acceptable hours as 8 to 5 p.m. on Mondays through Saturdays. Okay, so we have a few items for a workshop. First, we're going to be talking about our driveways and impervious versus pervious materials. Namely, this is to talk about grass. This is an item that has floated up on the zoning board's recommendations every single year, so we're happy to finally address it here as part of council. Mr. Rigo, would you walk us through the highlights of the issue?
Right. The zoning ordinance deals with impervious surfaces. Like every other town, they have an impervious surface ordinance. Ours is called building or lot coverage. So our lot coverage ordinance defines what is impervious, and it talks about certain substances, stones, things like that. But what it does is it states that any area that is a driveway or a parking area is impervious, no matter what it's made out of. So it doesn't define impervious by the material, it defines it by the function. So in that ordinance, there's an exception, and there's an exception for stone and gravel. So you have the entire area that's impervious. They accept out stone and gravel to the tune of 50%. But since they haven't accepted out grass, grass is in. So while stone and gravel is at 50% and grass, which we all think is impervious, but because it's not subject to the exception, it is counted at 100% pervious. And a literal reading of the ordinance supports that, but it's ridiculous.
So we just need to rewrite it so that it says that grass is 100% pervious. Or does it not say that now?
Yeah.
It does say
well,
that.
it does not say that. We can say that. And that's the simple fix of the
Not be
ordinance.
the preferred.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be where I had on this too.
Totally, yes.
Simple fix?
Simple fix.
Because I don't like defining impervious by function. That eliminates all the new stuff that comes out. that allows, for percolation. Every year it seems like there's a new, engineered type thing, but we can look at that later. If you're up for the simple fix it is.
Works for me.
Sim- Simple fix it 100%.
Look at that.
100%.
Solving
Yeah.
problems. All right.
Thank you.
Go grass.
All right, the next item is the Tourism Commission. This is something that's been a conversation for the last 3 years since I've been on the Tourism Commission, which I've actually just appointed Councilman Barry Lubin in that seat. But if you read the ordinance for the Tourism Commission, it actually has no jurisdiction over events. The only thing that's in the Tourism Commission's jurisdiction is advertising monies like spent outside of the borough, generally speaking. And we have all these people on the Tourism Commission, and obviously it makes sense that events should be part of what they do, and that they should be doing it and making recommendations on how to better the events that we have, and make them more in accordance and worthwhile to the goals of the chamber and our Main Street and for the residents themselves and what they want, what works best for the borough. So I put this on the agenda because I'd like to see if we have general agreement here as to what the function of the Tourism Commission should be.
Having my first meeting with them, very casual, very open, but no real authority, exactly. Basically, so my report of council is coming now as opposed to before. So on Wednesday, the 12th, I met with them. Mayor was there for part of it. And it was, again, small but very good meeting. But there's so much crossover between tourism, events, chamber, recreation, and sometimes the library, that tourism really has no authority. My answer is some sort of coordination at the beginning.
We're a tourism-based town. It's a big
Right.
part. For them to only have that one small part of that, I just don't think it's a good utilization of the personnel there. Let's give them some more to do and some authority, and let's see what they can do with it.
I have always felt that tourism doesn't do enough in terms of special events, coordinating with, I always felt that there was a separation between tourism and the Belmar the Belmar Chamber of Commerce. I felt like then we have Jenna, who is our head of tourism, who works for the borough. I don't.
Like special events committee too, it's
Technically tourism isn't even in her title. And that's okay, it doesn't need to be, but,
It's all the same things that are tourism and pertain to tourism development, you know?
yes, and I also think partially that we should be thinking, we don't necessarily need to be a tourism draw, particularly in the summer. We have that already happening. We should be thinking about how we bring people in to support our 3 different business zones, but also very specifically, how can we restructure our events so that they are worthwhile for the residents of the borough? And that goes to so many things, and the obvious example is the Seafood Festival. I can tell you, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of the people of the Tourism Commission now, but I think they'd be okay with it, that they have been sending up recommendations about the Seafood Festival for years without rejoinder, and to give them the ability to work more closely with our events coordinator, with the chamber, and bring forth solid recommendations that have to rise to us, I think would make them much more effective, again, for our residents.
But we can also argue that the parade should be part of tourism as an event, but that's also separate and apart because there's a parade committee, right, who does the parade specifically, right?
Well, the parade is not even a Belmar event, it's the parade,
Right, that has a parade committee, but is it not a Belmar attraction tourism event?
well, Lake Como would have fun thoughts on that.
Belmar Lake Home, I mean,
Right.
in general, is it not an event that attracts tourism to our area?
So they get involved there too in some fashion.
Well, and that actually, on a side note, I would like to appoint a special, what's the word I want? A liaison from Belmar to the Belmar Lake Como Parade Committee. Like I said, and that is the organization, they are an organization that puts on the parade, and they get that event permit from us. So again, it's not a
I
Belmar.
totally get that, but it's part of Belmar's tourism, you know? I mean, isn't that part of what draws people to our, that's why I never understood why the parade was just separate from all of that. Just always has.
It just is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
And like the
understand.
5K, I mean, that's not a tourism event either.
Right. I understand that, but the same as the Chamber of Commerce is the Lake Como and Belmar Chamber. So, and that's fine. In my many years of dealing with the Chamber, where my business was, when I started there, we had a business association, which was not much bigger than our chamber now. And now that chamber is over 300 members and going strong. And it's just, it comes down to a matter of, over a period of time, deciding who's in charge where and or coordinating for each or event, who's in charge of what event and who has to work together.
Well, I think that there's ways that the Tourism Commission could get involved that doesn't actually involve the nuts and bolts of the parade itself. I mean, they could get in touch with the bars and get band lists and advertise that, you know, or do things that are gonna attract people that are like, I don't know if I wanna go, oh, but my favorite band is playing, or a band that I like is playing. If we can get that kind of information out through them, so it doesn't actually.
I agree, I think it needs to be coordinated, all the events in town need to be coordinated through tourism, whether it's run through this committee or that committee or that organization. It all should go through tourism as a borough-wide and maybe Lake Como and Belmar borough-wide events happening in town. That's just my opinion.
Kevin, remind me how you started that, because you made me think of something that was not my original thought.
That they can.
Oh, that's right. I would just say, I think, to gently reframe that Belmar, despite the fact that the parade is not a Belmar event, does spend an extraordinary amount of money on the parade. And so, I don't know if I would start advertising monies there rather than other smaller events that perhaps would, that would more directly boost the businesses on days that they don't even, since we have such an extraordinary high influx of people into the town on parade day. And that also being said, what I'd really like to see happen is for the chamber to take more control of some of these events so that it frees up our staff to focus on other things that we need doing, you know? So what agreement have we reached here in general?
Coordination between the separate, tourism events, chamber. I could in a heartbeat get the executive director of the Point Pleasant Beach Chamber up here for a meeting.
Yeah, I agree, it's a matter of,
So, okay.
it's about, getting together with the Tourism Commission and just kind of have a brainstorming and like, what can we do, what will we do, and what are we willing to do, kind of thing.
And a representative from the chamber who wants to participate in what's going on in tourism, and we have to work together.
And I think the way the Tourism Commission ordinance is currently set up, it demands representatives from the different types of businesses that are in Belmar who are paying into that tourism fund, which is partially why we have the type of membership we do there. But it doesn't have formal representation from the actual chamber, and I think the idea of having a joint meeting, perhaps on the next one, if that can be coordinated between them to dial up some formal recommendations is probably the better next step.
Well, does a mercantile license mean that you're paying into tourism, April? Yes,
Yeah.
every business in town is a mercantile license fee, which we know now can't be a late fee because we have that ordinance. But if you have a business in town, you pay a mercantile license like I do in my business, then you're paying into tourism.
Okay.
So, before we go any further, the Tourist Commission, Tourist Development Commission, is a creature of statute. Okay, so, it has, certain, flow of money from our mercantile license into it, and it's really, its only power is to spend that, publicizing or promoting Belmar, and 50% has to be out of the town. So those are the powers. So when we talk about authority, that's all the authority that they have. So they can't spend any of the money that comes in on the parade or on anything else. Unless, you know, there's always an art to the definition of promotion, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I get that too, but we have to be careful there, because it's a creature of statute, it has only certain powers. Now, we do have an advisory committee, I think it's called, in our ordinance, that, because there's only 5 members by statute, by ordinance, only 5. But if you wanted to have a committee that would work in the manner that you're talking about, it would be probably through the advisory committee, because you could get extra people to work. And anything that they're gonna do, when we talk about authority, is really your authority. Right? It has to go up to you, and then you have to say yes or no. We can't give them any rights to do anything else on your behalf. Anything the borough does has to be done by you. So, you know, in that sense, they're not gonna have any more authority, except they'll be, you know, operating at your pleasure, and if you like what they're suggesting, then you'll do it. But they'll have no additional authority other than what's in the statute.
We have voting and non-voting members.
Well,
As far
you
as
just
for
wouldn't call
spending, or the recommendations for spending money.
You just wouldn't call them that. There's 5 members, 5 commissioners, that's it. But there's an advisory committee, so you would have, that's where they would be. They wouldn't be non-voting members. That's not provided for.
Do we
But that's kind of
know,
semantics, right? I mean,
It is.
so,
Yeah.
but that's how it would be set up.
Okay.
do we know how much money is in that fund? You know, or let me know later, whichever.
Oh, I don't know now, and I won't know later either, so that's.
But Joe will let me know.
That's Joe's question. Or Mike's.
And the last thing here is a flood hazard development permit fee. And for background on that, many, if not most towns have something like this. We have to pay for our professional staff to review applications or permits as they come in. We cover those costs, and we would like to not do that. So, but for instance, the proposal here is for $150. I will say that the Highlands, for instance, has $150 for residential and $200 for commercial. So that was one of the things I wanted to bring up if you wanted to make some type of difference between residential versus commercial.
This would be if there was a flood, I'm sorry, what exactly is
No,
this?
so this is for typically, new construction or an addition that requires, for a property that's in a flood zone. They're required to fill out a flood hazard development permit to make sure that they're building above the flood elevation and meeting all the other requirements.
This is something that's common in other towns, and we're catching up to that. You know, we don't wanna, our taxpayers end up paying those fees where we could get the money directly from the applicant.
So
That's
we don't have a fee right now, is that the
Yes.
issue? Okay, so we don't have a permit at all. You don't have to get a permit, you don't have a fee, there's no.
We have a permit, we just don't charge a fee for it.
And like I said, every
Christine?
permit needs to be reviewed by Christine Bell, right?
Right.
Yes.
So this is for residential and or commercial, when they come to the zoning board, those plans
No, this is during the construction process.
during, okay.
So the proposal that we've seen, that we April sent out had $150, but my one addition to that I wanted to bring up to all of you would be whether or not we want to make it slightly higher for commercial properties. Or actually, when I say commercial, I'm thinking more of a larger developments, like large scale developments like ones we have coming in, for instance. That
I think, yeah.
Yeah, we
I
have to
think
define
yes.
it. Where the line is.
Let's charge them all the money we can.
Probably more than 4 units, something like that.
More than 4 units?
Something like that.
And would could we define, that as like mixed use could also fall under that higher rate?
Yeah.
Does
Do a
anyone have
little
thoughts?
research and find out what other towns are doing, that won't take.
I'd be a fan of having a two-tier system.
2 tiers.
Yep, I like it.
Great.
Yes.
All right.
Great workshop, everyone. Okay, so do we have any petitions?
I did not receive any petitions.
Okay.
Having no petitions, we can move on to approval of minutes.
Could I have a motion to approve the August 11th minutes?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Lubin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Abstain.
Councilman Maroney?
Yes.
And Mayor Donovan?
Yes. Okay. I'm looking at my own stuff. Reports of council, please.
I've pretty much said it. I was just reading, there's nothing else in my notes to add.
Thank you, Councilman. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, because I wasn't here last time, I can talk double tonight. Okay, so there's quite a little bit I have. Recreation, fall tennis signups, boys and girls and adults happening now. Tennis lessons start in October. Fall soccer signups also happening now. The season starts in September. A 6th through 8th grade co-ed team has been added. Mayor, you asked me about coaching, and apparently we found all of our coaches. So we're good with soccer coaches for the fall. The Gary Letizia Memorial Blood Drive is Tuesday, September 1st from 12:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Taylor Pavilion. Please, everybody, come donate some blood. Senior Game Night is coming back to Taylor Pavilion, September 14th at 12:30 p.m. Mahjong and Canasta. Call the Recreation Office for more information if you would like more information about that. Jeff Penk will be performing in the plaza this Friday, and the band Exit 102 will perform on September 4th. Those are the last couple bands that are going to play in Piano Plaza on Friday nights. Movies on the Beach, the last one is tomorrow night at dusk. The movie is What a Girl Wants, and the Belmar Skate Park will be selling refreshments and snacks. So next Friday night is the Kids Race. Belmar 5 is Saturday, September 5th. The Kids Race is at 6. You do need to register your kids if they want to run the race. They say show up around 5:30. The Belmar 5 is Saturday, early morning. I think it kicks off at 8 o'clock. You can still register if you want to run. So Thursday the 3rd, September 3rd, at Goodwill, you can register to run 6 p.m. and you can register as late as Friday the 4th at Taylor Pavilion. You can get a registration and a bid Friday the 4th as well if you want to run. And both kids and adults need to sign up and register. After the kids race around 8 o'clock, we're going to have our fireworks, which I had to cancel. And I had 5 whole days in there. So yes, they're back. We're counting back on the board. And that's all I have for recreation. The Shade Tree Commission has been awarded now 2 big grants, a $25,000 grant and a $31,000 grant. Both of them had matching. Both of them had matching portions from the borough. The first one was the Community Forestry Plan, which is going to refresh our inventory and pay to do a 5-year tree inventory in town. We also have hired back Bill Brash as our arborist, and he's identified like over 1,700 trees that we have in our planting strips in town. And we've also identified, I believe, upwards of almost 1,000 areas where we can plant new trees. Then we have the second grant, which is also going to provide pruning, maintenance, watering, tree removal. So there's gonna be a lot of tree happenings because we got these fabulous grants over the next couple years, over the next 5 years or so. So that's really exciting. And they are also in the works of trying to find another grant, and stay tuned, because hopefully that will provide us money too. And then the last thing I want to report on is that Belmar has created a parking committee. The mayor has tasked me with creating a parking committee in town. And so she and I have selected about 7 or 8 residents, Belmar business owners, people who have experience with urban planning, with redevelopment, and we also graciously have set as Lieutenant Todd Lee, who's helping us with parking laws and enforcement and how we can get some more money out of our parking, which is right now a parking utility. The sad reality with all this redevelopment is that our very sort of fragile parking situation is probably going to get worse. So we need to figure out some solutions now. And we're in the very infancy stages of this. We've only had 2 meetings, but we really need to figure out how we can maybe find some more parking in town. There's potentially going to be increased borough paid parking in town with the possible ultimate goal of a parking garage in town. So all of these things are not off of the table, but we're trying to get ahead of some of the redevelopment. We're kind of already behind because it's already starting, right? So we need to really see and take serious considerations about the capacity of parking that is really, it's coming our way. And it's, not only are a lot of these developments underparked, meaning there's not even enough parking for the people that are going to be living there, but if they have friends come and families stay and, guests, and where are all these people going to park? And it's going to be a burden on us residents. So the parking committee is going to be a real serious plan in the next couple of months. We hope to have some solutions, but again, very early stages, very early conversations, working entirely with the police department and the mayor, and obviously with our business administrator, and a lot of great people in town to come up with some real solid solutions. So I will keep you informed every step of the way of what we decide. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of public meetings and conversations to come, but it's coming, okay? So just letting you all know, and that is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Maroney?
All right, Councilman de Blasio asked me to give his couple of notes for him as well, so I'll do that. Planning Board, they reviewed and finalized comments on the master plan. One more version of the updated plan will be issued 10 days before the next meeting, which is September 28th at 7 p.m. The plan for the next meeting is to do final review, redline, comments, and vote on the master plan. For the Harbor Commission, discussions continued regarding marina projects planned for the fall. DPW is continuing to repair finger docks that have been damaged for some time. A T-head replacement by 9th Avenue Pier. The bidding process is complete and will be reviewed. Harbor Commission voted to approve purchasing 20 beaches to be placed around the marina. These benches will be offered for dedication plaques similar to how other benches are around town, with more info to come. The marina will now have a representative also on the parking committee, which is headed by Council President Kinney, as you just heard. The next Harbor Commission meeting is 9:15 at 6 p.m.
Thank you. And
We do, in fact, have a member, a representative from the marina on the parking committee. So, again, it's always trying to make sure that we're including all these neighborhoods and commercial areas of Belmar as we go forward and make these decisions. And thank you all for everything you're doing. So, as far as what we're doing too on a larger scale, one of the biggest problems we have in front of us as a borough, and it ties in with infrastructure, is of course flooding and resiliency planning. So 2 major things happened in the last 24 hours about that. One is, thankfully, we had the Army Corps of Engineers here today to talk about our lake plan. They went over and took more samples and are getting ready to deliver us a draft in September that then we'll review. And the other thing was that yesterday, we were lucky enough to host a large group of representatives from our neighboring towns, from the county, and from the Department of our state DEP, along with members of the American Littoral Society and the Shark River Cleanup Coalition. Now, this was all in service to that grant that I talked about before. I was lucky enough to be able to write Belmar section of it, but we're working in tandem with all of those entities along with the county to come up with a resiliency plan for Shark River and for flooding. And one of the areas we really want to focus on for our Belmar section is, of course, that River Road, McCleary Park area in the L Street area. That section of River Road there on 35 is one of the lowest, if not the lowest point in Belmar. It floods like that, we all know it. And then not only affects our traffic going north and south, but it also affects those surrounding neighborhoods as people veer off them. I see some smiles and nods there. And you know, those streets are very narrow. We have just damage to property there. We have people getting sideswiped, losing their rear view mirrors. So making sure that we're addressing that issue in a coherent way is really important. And one of the things that I got to do is go down and look at like the actual bulkhead. And we've known that the bulkheads need help there, but even if you go over to that area just south of McCleary Park, that is adjacent to 35 going up towards Belmar Boulevard, you can look and see that bulkhead needing help and the land from 35, like next to 35, sliding down. So it's really, really important, not just that we restore that bulkhead, but we look at nature-based solutions because those are actually going to be better, more resilient, better for the wildlife, but actually also better for the infrastructure itself. So I was lucky enough to be able to speak directly with the DEP commissioner, not only about that, but some of the other issues we have here in Belmar, everything from flooding to dunes to things in between. So we're really excited as a town to be able to do these projects to make forward progress and create a better Belmar for all of us. So there's that. I want to thank everyone who came out to coffee with the mayor. We did another solid 3 hours. And these sessions, I love them. Like, people be like, how do you, I could stay another 3, to be honest with you. I'm obsessed with this stuff. I'll talk about it to you guys all day. And really these turned into such great brainstorming sessions. We had the beautification committee come out of the very first one a month ago, and then, which has been being developed over time. So I'm so excited to present that final product to you guys. But even little things like bringing to my attention different like code violations in town, to even talking about larger scale ways that we can address things like violations on the beach, for instance, and how we can help all of our staff in town. So thank you for everyone who came. I encourage you to come next month when we do it again. And one little tiny thing, we are in process, we had a resident at the last council meeting here bring up a memorial tree that was down. We are in the process of replacing that, and I'd like to give a little shout out. Our superintendent isn't here, but DPW has been doing so much work. He will tell you, he's getting way too many emails and text messages from me. He's got his to-do list a mile long. And they are really, every single member of our DPW is working so hard. I know so many of you saw the excavator out on Silver Lake. We are just really trying to move forward with doing things that we can do right now to make your quality of life better and to address all those issues that you've been bringing up to us over time. So, thank you.
Next, we have the public session on the resolutions. If anyone has a comment or question about a resolution on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and address. Because it's just the resolutions.
What about workshop?
Coming later.
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Lubin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Councilman Maroney?
Yes.
Mayor Donovan?
Yes.
Next, we have the second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2026-19. This is an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 16-3, 19-7, and 27-4 of the revised general ordinances. And this is amending and establishing times for construction in the borough. This is open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak on the ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address.
Go ahead. Mark O'Neill, 11th Avenue. In the write-up on that, it says on Sundays, the homeowner can still work on his house. So we have some homeowners that own 10 houses. So is he allowed to work on any one of those 10?
The short answer is probably yes.
Have to look at the wording of the ordinance, but does it say owner?
It's homeowner. Occupant, no, it says homeowner, but
Yeah, if you stretch it, probably.
if you're a landlord, you're a homeowner, you own all those properties. So technically that landlord is gonna be
Yeah,
doing
but
work on Sunday.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think we're understanding what homeowner is. I think we mean, you know, the resident, the person that lives in the home can do it, not the
I
property
understand
owner.
that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it needs to be tightened up there.
Okay,
Tighten that up. Good
thank
note.
you.
I'll take a look at it.
Mhm.
This is the
Second
second.
reading, can we verbally amend that, or do we have to go back to the beginning?
Well, if we're going to amend it, we could just table it now and come back, and I could look at it. But like, right now, I don't have wording to do that. Or I'm not gonna amend it on the fly and have everybody vote on it, so we'd have to go back.
I'm wondering, because I think there are those of us who would like this in place for Labor Day weekend. Do you think we could pass it as is and then amend it in the following meeting?
Well, you could just go through the process again and have first reading amending it, yeah. I mean, if you wanna pass this as better than, having this is better than, having what we have in place right now, then you vote it in now and we'll go through the process of amending it. We may not run up against that issue, but we will have,
It is a good point, it's a good point.
but I'm gonna have to take a look at it. That's the way things go, you know? He's a good attorney.
Linda Sharkus, Fourth Avenue. I'd like to suggest that the construction hours be extended to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, because as the shorter days are approaching, these contractors are under the pressure to get their houses done on the outside, and that extra hour makes a big difference over the course of a project. Just my thought about it. And then end at 5 on Friday, have 5 o'clock on Saturday, and nothing on Sunday. So, I think you, hope you consider that.
Eugene Creamer, Fourth Avenue. This proposed ordinance modifies about 3 or 4 other sections of ordinance. One thing I didn't pick up there is, what about emergencies? Does this have any effect on regulated public utilities? Or the county, if they want to work on the bridge at night? Or DOT working on the bridge? Or the railroad working on a bridge 24 hours a day? Is there exceptions in here that allows for regulated public utilities and other government entities to do work beyond these hours?
No, and there haven't been any exceptions. We didn't eliminate any exceptions. There never were exceptions for those circumstances. And you have to take everything, one by one. In an emergent situation, nobody's going to say that you can't do work because we have an ordinance. If you have an emergency, you're going to take care of the emergency. Now, whether we can tell the state that they have to be quiet after a certain period of time, I doubt that. And the same thing with the county. These are other, government entities that have their own powers, and we're on the bottom of that totem pole. So, I don't. The state's going to do what it's going to do. The county's going to do what it's going to do. We can enforce the laws, on the other property, and so that's pretty much the way we did it. And there are 3 sections that we amended, and it was interesting because the times, they're pretty much the same, the same thing, but the times were different. So depending on what ordinance you were under, you could make an argument. So we made those uniform and eliminated the chief's ability to tell people that notwithstanding the ordinance, they can do it as long as the chief is okay with it. That was part of our ordinance too. Don't know how that got in there. It was in there for a long time. Don't know if it was ever acted upon, but it's certainly there, and there's no sense putting our chief of police under the gun, because the chief would then have to make a decision if a contractor could work or not, and that's not the chief of police's job. That's basically it.
Regulated utilities, New Jersey Natural Gas, they use Keeley as a contractor, and one of their prime contractors. And actually, just this past winter, we had gas leaks on Fifth Avenue where the construction was going on. And there were guys out there with jackhammers and you know, in the middle of the night. Talk about loud, if that's what you were trying to control.
If they're doing that, though, they had to do that, right? And there's an emergency.
Absolutely.
We don't want to stop people from fixing gas leaks, so.
Okay. As long as that's understood and doesn't get in the way of anything. You know, we're watching these things every night on TV about power lines falling down. And I work for the power company, and quite truthfully, we never really had a problem. Police departments, quite truthfully, did everything that the utility requested as far as street closings and construction. I did have one case where our own men, where ear protection equipment, protective equipment, and had to use jackhammers in the street in front of a couple of homes, quite truthfully, on a 24-hour basis. The way we handled that was giving them, the homeowners, actually personal protection equipment, so it wasn't a problem. That's all. As long as the town understands what its place is.
So the other thing to consider too is we don't go out and wrestle people to the ground and make them stop. They get a ticket, and then they go to the municipal court, and depending on how reasonable they were or they were not, the municipal court judge would then handle it that way. So if we actually wrote a ticket for somebody who's fixing a gas leak, I don't think the court would appreciate that too much, and probably would dismiss it. So, you know, we have to have a modicum of common sense when we're enforcing these things. I think that's what you're probably advocating.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, please? Okay.
This is how to tell if you're all
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-19, or do we want to make amendments?
Well, if we're gonna make amendments, we have to table it and come back.
What are we gonna do?
If we want to have it ready for Labor Day, we'll do it right now. Now, one thing to consider is, when we rewrote the ordinances, we didn't change any of that wording. That wording's been in the ordinance forever, so that issue's been there forever. And I'll have to take a look at it, and I don't have it in front of me right now, and I'm not gonna do the analysis right now anyway, to determine if that's a loophole. But if that's a loophole, we can close it, but I also want you to understand if that's a loophole, it's been a loophole. So if this is better than what we have, then let's do it, and we'll go back and fix it.
I would defer to the consensus of council, but I'm happy to go forward with this now and then return to it at need be.
I'm in agreement.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Right, would someone like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Lubin?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney?
Yes.
Councilman Maroney?
Yes.
Mayor Donovan?
Yes.
Alright, and now we have the regular public session. Just remember to please state your name and address before you speak.
Jim DiOrio, 8th Avenue. Has there been an update on the cost of remediation on the 12th Avenue property?
Yes and no. So right now we have a proposal, and I'll just explain to you in full what's going on. We have a proposal from our vendor to remediate, redo the roads and the sidewalks. And the total, if we go through the entirety of the list, is about about $750,000. And then we can choose to bring some of those pieces out, like if we decide not to demolish the building. I know were proposals to take other things off the list and slide them over to DPW, but unfortunately that doesn't necessarily minimize the cost. So we need to move forward with that. We are also looking into grants, and there are different grants we can pursue. And they would allow us to bring back anywhere from 75 to 25% of that project. However, the 75% number would only cover things, it's recreation, Mount Laurel project, and there's a third one.
Renewable energy.
Renewable energy. Down EOT. So those are the three. If we go down to 25%, we can use it for almost any municipal purpose, and there really isn't a time frame for how long we have to use it for that purpose to get that 25% back. So we have to make a final decision. We have to make it very soon because we would like that project to start before the end of September.
Do we know the timeframe?
We do know the timeframe?
Yeah, once it starts, it's about 4 or 5 weeks to be completed. And as the mayor said, we're evaluating the different options. They're adding some test wells to try to constrict the area that they have to excavate, because they kind of did a broad brush and now they're trying to get it exactly how much they have to take out.
So it's somewhere between 0 and 700,000.
Correct, but erring on the side of closer to 750,000. And then, I don't know if you're asking what the larger cost of the project.
Well, where I'm going is, where did this 700,000 come from? Another bond, general assets, but where?
It's a capital project, a bond, yes.
Yes.
So this will be a bond, another bond on top of the bond that was passed to buy the building.
Correct.
So we're like $2 million in bonds on something we can't use. Haven't been able to use for 4 years.
Correct.
Okay. And we're also paying interest on that bond for the last 4 years.
I'm not quite sure about the financing mechanism on the, but we're probably paying interest only, yes.
All right. So all this money is affecting our taxes, correct?
One of many items.
Right, but it's a major item.
It is a major item.
Okay.
And
It is part of our debt too. And we obviously want to limit the amount of debt burden that we have as a municipality to maintain healthy finances. So we don't want to take on too much debt because that's not good for us as a municipality.
All right, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I gotta ask you about this, because this really bothers me. Debbie Kinsley, 512 13th Avenue. I know I asked this question, but I wanna ask it in this public, because I want it to be stated. Who was the attorney that approved this? Because I think we should be going after that attorney. I really do. I mean, we bought a building that had all this contamination, and an attorney just allowed the town to do it. I'm questioning this, because in today's day and age, you don't buy a building unless you check this stuff out first, not later. So this is not like all of a sudden there's environmental rules. I mean, I've been looking at buildings for years and years and years in my business, what I did. And I don't, like, to me, this is like, how did we purchase something? I never went to the meetings before, have no idea what went on with this. But it's just craziness to me that this could be this much money. I mean, I'm asking the question because I hope we never use this attorney again, and I'd like to know who this attorney is.
As our council president quietly pointed out, the attorney in question is deceased. The firm is no longer one of the firms that we use by the borough. There was, I believe, this was purchased, we say 6 years ago at this point, 2019. There was a lot of, I believe, public conversation about it. Mr. Regilla can...
I mean, we have to be fair here, because the assumption or the premise is that the attorney didn't do something that they were supposed to do. Now, that has not been established.
Okay.
So I understand where our residents coming from, but it
So in other words,
may not be facts.
I was on council when we approved this, and I can tell you that what was told to us by the existing LSRP who was working at the time told us that there was so much money that we needed in escrow to clean it up. We put that money in escrow. It clearly was not enough. We blew through it. New people came in, new administrators came in. I just know what I know in my short 1 year that I was in council at that point in time. So obviously, there was a misjudgment there, and it is what it is.
okay, I mean, well, you gave me a little bit more clarity here, that you were told something that was totally off base, in other words.
I don't know if it was at the time. I don't think it didn't seem to be. I just, knew
No,
what I
listen.
knew based on the information
I
I
mean,
had.
listen, when you buy properties with potential environmental conditions, you make assumptions based on expert opinions. I mean, obviously, you're not an expert on this. I mean, so I just think that this amount is huge. It's a huge amount, and I can't go backwards, so I just.
Right, and I think there are two separate but related issues. One is the amount that we had in escrow was not sufficient, and the other was that the borough, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Real, and I have to be wrong, is that we could have taken 12 months to do more diligence on that property, get the full scope of what needed to happen, and perhaps go back into, to get more money from the seller, and instead we closed in 3 months.
1 month.
1 month.
So this was, in other words, what I'm trying to understand is, can this happen again? Like, how do we prevent?
Not on my watch.
You understand what I'm saying is, my concern here is, like, this is a lot of money that we're burdened with.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we put in place something so this doesn't occur again?
Well, I think we make smarter decisions as a council, and we make sure that we're bringing in professionals who will tell us hard truths. I don't want anyone who working for me or working for anyone up here who will be just a yes man. I want to know when and why I'm wrong. And not only that, but if there's an alternative viewpoint to anything I'm doing, I want to know it. I only want to make decisions that are as sound as possible, and I think anyone up here would agree with me. No organization, no person is, it's Catholic, I should know this word, but foolproof. But we do what we can.
Just because a bad decision or a decision was made in some manner 4 years ago doesn't mean that we're going to make that same decision today or next year or going forward. So that was its own decision, its own set of facts, things that,
Okay.
we did certain things as a borough, and now we're, fixing it, if that's the proper word. But we're addressing the purchase of that property. It's an ongoing process. Some criticism could be
No, my
had,
concern
but
is like Councilman
Yeah, that's
Kenny
where we
saying they presented it not, there was no indication, you're basically saying that there was something else to be concerned about. That's
We
what-
knew there was contamination. I mean, that was
Right.
clear,
Right,
right? But my understanding was that they had gone through the professionals that they had at the time. They
right.
consulted the people that they had who led them to believe that there was an ability for it to be cleaned up with a certain amount of funding, and that the building ultimately was gonna be used as a borough property. That was the ultimate goal of that property.
So when they got these quotes, did somebody
Well,
sign
shortly
up?
after this all happened, they got voted out. And then a new administrator, a new mayor, and a whole new administration came in, who brought in their own LSRPs, their own professionals, their own engineers. So, I mean, in reality, you don't know. We like to believe that the people who are talking to you or telling you what you think is the truth, but then other people have their truth, and then other people have their truth. You know what I mean? So,
I understand.
it is what it is, and we can't beat a dead horse. It's
Right.
over. It's really
Listen,
over.
I understand this part of it, but I'm gonna give you an example of something. Where I live in Florida, on a property in Florida, we had a situation where we did like a 10-year, whatever they called it, like analysis, you had to check the property. And the information was filed by an engineering group, but it was filed incorrectly. And the town came back 10 years later and said to us, hey, you gotta have this done again, to our HOA. And we're like, wait a minute, we already did this. Okay, now this is like an insurance issue. because we hired a professional, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and now there's liability here. You know, and I'm just trying to, if there's some potential that we could go after somebody for a breach here, I think we should be doing it wholeheartedly, that's all I'm saying.
Well,
I understand your point, I think.
The only thing I can say is that we understand that. And we're not gonna discuss what we have done and what we know, as to who did what when. Because, that's something that we may get into litigation about, maybe not. Well, I can't right now
Okay.
just, explain exactly all that I know and why I think the way I do. But we are looking at that. We're not
Okay.
not
It makes you
aware
feel
of
better.
that.
It really does, I mean, cause this is a lot of money, it's a lot of money, and I just can't, I don't think it should happen like this.
And ironically, the word I was looking for was omniscient or all-knowing, so.
Yes. Linda Sharkus, Fourth Avenue. One of the things that's missing from this discussion is 4 years have passed. That's a long time and change in just the cost of things over 4 years. But I also want to mention that the standard for the cleanup has increased. And that is another big reason we have a higher cost here. So just.
I'm not even sure it's a big reason we have a higher cost. And I will defer to our LSRP about that. It's certainly a factor, and I think it's a good factor. I'm very happy to hold, to clean the contamination to a higher standard for our residents. I think when you look at the general estimates of what this property has cost and what we need to do to fix it, you're still gonna land in about the same place, because we did clear that and we handle it.
I know,
But-
Mayor, you
but
know
the
that
time
EPA did
function.
change.
Oh, I'm
They
not
changed laws.
disagreeing, I'm saying
They're not
they
law.
did.
They did change laws in that time frame.
Well, that's really the factor.
Yeah, they changed the laws to be higher, stricter standards of
Every day.
cleanup,
And
so.
let's face it, all our costs were lower 4 years ago.
If your overall point is that it's time to move on this property, I think everyone agrees.
Yeah, we're just a little slow getting there. But
I've been
at
there.
least
I
we're here.
got my hand on the green button.
No, you're trying, I think.
George, tell me to shut up if I say, but I just want to reiterate that when that building was purchased, there was a 12-month, until it was closed upon or whatever, and it was done within 1 month. I know, I'm just reiterating it loud.
Show me that.
Unless you'd exit and I just follow.
Good afternoon, everybody. Tony Almeida, 10th Avenue. The saving grace, given my professional opinion, 17 years as a licensed and practicing real estate broker, when it's all said and done, we're ahead. So we could all focus on what happened in the past, or we can move forward and say, post cleanup of this property, the borough has a tangible asset that's worth more than the cleanup and the acquisition price combined. So that's my opinion for what it is, and I'd like to think that my colleagues in my industry would also agree. I do have some experience on commercial parcels in Belmar, so make that noted. Moving forward on that, to Mrs. Sharkus's point, you also have 4 to 5 additional years of water seepage under the roadway. I was here for the presentation that the engineering and LSRP did, so yes, there's incurred costs for this. I also have a very extensive utility construction background, and I can tell you it's not that easy when there's other utilities in the way, which is driving the cost up. One thing I'd like to know is, it's nice to see, actually, which I was not aware, that the demo of the building is in that number.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good, right? So maybe the burden, I have a general gauge on what that might be, but I will say that there's probably, if that was removed, you probably can get some competitive bids from a couple local guys and some other companies that are in law. And concrete, although expensive to get rid of, does hold some value because it's turned into recycled aggregates, so there might be some other companies that might be interested in that. So, my recommendation would be is to shop proposals on demo and removal. A nice clean site would be good. That's not why I'm here. To touch on the workshop issues, the permeable situation regarding driveways, right? I'm the vice chairman of the zoning board. I can speak on behalf of myself and the chairman of the zoning board, who I spoke to earlier today, could not make the meeting. The long and short of it is, granulated stone and grass, both in a park strip scenario, should be, in our opinion, 100% permeable. And I'll give you this as an example. If you had, and if you understand what I'm saying, driveway strips meaning a interlocking permeable paver application going up your driveway where the center of it is either filled with grass or stone. Do you have a visual on this? Okay. So if it's 40 feet long by 3 feet wide, if my math is correct, it's 120 square feet. 120 square feet that is counted against the homeowner for permeable application. It's 100% non-permeable, okay? What we're finding is that the architects and engineers are not specifically drawing additional walkways, paver patios in their yards because they're losing it up front by trying to be accommodating to a driveway situation. Where if you have 120 square feet, whether in my opinion it's filled with stone or grass, and it perks to the soil, then that allows for a 12 by 10 patio in the backyard at no burden to the municipality and or the homeowner. So that's something that I think should be considered. I can speak on behalf of Mr. Fitzgerald, who's our chair. Again, I spoke before we came in here. He is in agreement with me on this. There are other members here of our zoning board that would also potentially might like to speak with that. Something else that I don't like is that if you're using stone in a landscape application, specifically instead of mulch, if you're putting a granular stone down, that also perks. So I don't see why it has to be counted as 50% when in my opinion it should be 100%. Now, from the municipality's point of view, and potentially a lot of my neighbors, I'm sure what we don't like is when the stone driveway in its entirety, potentially, encroaches on your driveway apron, because then what happens is the stones get into the right of way and on the sidewalk and become a burden for the municipality, the neighbors, the sweepers, etc. Mr. Fitzgerald brought up that there might already be an ordinance in place where you have to carry pavers or concrete 3 to 5 feet from your sidewalk apron to prevent the stone or whatever coming into the driveway. I mean, that's what I did on both of my puzzles. With that being said, I'm in agreement, Mr. Fitzgerald's in agreement. I have a tendency to think that some of our zoning board members would be in agreement. I don't care if it's grass, I don't care if it's filled with stone. That should not be 100% non-permeable. That's my opinion. I'd also like the board to give consideration to switching the landscape aspect of that also. Stone perks. I mean, we're not talking about a DGA or recycled concrete aggregate or base. If you watch these professional paver companies that install driveway strips, when they do this, the center is not filled with the recycled concrete aggregate or a DGA composite material because they know they need it to perk. And then indifference on that, some guys lay pavers on stone dust, other guys lay pavers on sand, to each their own. Sand obviously perks, right? So it's something that's been burdensome, in my opinion, to the zoning board for a couple of years. I know that we would like it addressed. I'd like to thank you all for putting it and getting that in the works. Maybe Mr. Fitzgerald might like to share his own opinion, but as of right now, via my text message with him and communications, he's in agreement with me.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Do we need language that specifies what type of material we would need under the zones?
In between it's probably gonna be no material.
Okay.
under the stones. It'll probably end up being, do we need language there? I think the language would be no compacted material in between the driveway strips. I think Ms. Bell might better speak to that. Mr.
Right
Weaver.
before you walked in, Tony, we did all agree that grass
Was
is
it
100%.
I heard, I'm pushing for the stone.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I made the mistake of cutting through Avon and got stuck at the bridge, so I apologize for being late. But I did over here, but I would make the push for the stone too. I mean, a lot of people have stone driveways. I personally don't mind stone driveways if they carry it in your backyard. It's a nice look. If you have grass in your park strips and you don't do it the right way, it burns out. So to each homeowner, you know, it's a preference.
Anything matter there as far as like the size of the stone or anything like that, that we should be aware of?
Yeah, you might have to give, you might, you know, that's a Miss Bell application, I think, or a recommendation for, somebody like, off, you know, on the record, but off the record. Joe Kashuba's an excellent engineer. Mary Hearn is an excellent architect. They might have valuable opinions on these subject matters. Unfortunately, neither are residents of our town, but however, yeah, you might not want certain types of stone. Yes, I would agree with that.
Gravel versus rock versus real stone.
Yeah, 3/8 pea gravel, which is like the smallest you can get, has a tendency to roll over, has a tendency to compact. 3/4 inch clean bluestone is a different type of aggregate. That's what I used in my driveway. Has a tendency to compact slightly, but it still lets the water perk. It's at the preference of the municipality, but there's a strategic advantage not only for the municipality, but also the homeowners to allow it in this type of application, in my opinion. And then the last thing I'd like to add is, I'd like to thank council, Ms. Claudio, and a couple other people from the town. The job site over on 35 is a lot more visually appealing. I like to see that people can walk hand in hand without having obstruction in their way from weeds and et cetera. And I'd like to thank everybody for however that happened, that I'd like to give some credit to the developer there for addressing it almost immediately within a timely manner.
They were with the yesterday meeting, I got them.
It's nice, and look, the inside of their job site, I can tell, is a very tight project. They are very neat at what they do. It's nice to see they carry it to the outside. It's important for our town, it really is. And then also to the safety of the people cutting over to our main section. So, thank you all for what you did, as always.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have statements here, and you guys are at a disadvantage because you can't respond, and we have statements about the delay with this project. The project just didn't simply sit there. Yeah, right. And it was under, sorry, I've been thinking about this because you're hamstrung because I won't let you speak and you know, the appearance is that, you know, 4 years went by and nothing happened, and that's not the case. We had the LSRP on the job, recommended that we dig out the dirt. Everybody knows we did. We dug out the dirt from 1200 Main. That dirt is gone. We did that work. The problem was when we did that, it didn't clean up. We had more mess to clean up. Didn't clean everything up, and that's a problem. And then that was an issue that the borough came into. What are we going to do with the property? How are we going to pay for it? And the big question, where does it end? So it was never delineated. And that was an issue that we were dealing with, you know, all the way up through present. So anything can get done faster, I'm sure. And anything looking back in hindsight, you can say, oh, look at that and look at that. And I agree with that. But to say like nothing happened and this property wasn't dealt with is just not so.
Thank you. And I think right now, at this moment, what the residents need to hear, though, that this is a top priority. We want to have it handled and we want to move forward so that we can get some of that money back for the borough and that it looks nicer and everything is usable. So, thank you, Mr. Miguel.
For Hangar 18th and B, As a member of the zoning board, I agree 100% with Tony, and you actually had enough of a quorum here of the zoning board to have a meeting. So, well, enough for them. But, the other thing is the annual, reminder that September 27th is the New Jersey Run for the Fallen. I thank the fire departments, the police department, and everybody that comes out to support it. For those that don't know about it, it's a group of people that run from down in Cape May up to the, I'll say, the Garden State Art Center. I know it's something else now, but that's what it was to me. And they run that over a course of 4 days. And it's an amazing experience if you're there. This particular run will start probably around 8:30. It technically says 9 o'clock, but they're always early. So I will say 8:30 this year to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to see it.
Maybe they'll get to Belmar at 8:30.
Yes,
You're saying, oh.
yes, yeah,
Down in the arches.
right. Corner of North Boulevard and Ocean Avenue, and then also down at Fifth Avenue. There's also a memorial. So I'll be back at the next meeting to remind us again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'd just like to go on record that I think the council and the municipality should give strong consideration to keeping that parcel. And it's directly across from our elementary school. We're gonna have an increased populace of people here. We're gonna need increased fire, increased ambulance services, increased, police. It's a rare opportunity to have a parcel of that size strategically located directly in the center of town, directly across from the elementary school on Main Street. So it's my recommendation that if the borough council and our residents can get behind it, there's probably some significant future use for that parcel for the town. Land is limited in our municipality, as we all know, so I just want to go on record for saying I hope we give consideration to keeping it. And that's it. Thanks.
Phil Gray, A&C, and I do agree with, I'm also a member of the zoning board, and I do, don't hold it against me. I agree with what Tony said in regards to all that pervious and impervious stuff. And if you're gonna think about dragging stones, gravel out into the street or across the sidewalk, you have to kind of consider how many feet a revolution of the tire is, because that's where they all get caught up. They get caught in the tires and they get dragged out, besides the kids kicking them out. But you might have to make it even longer than 3 or 4 feet. But I do agree with what Tony said, and I hadn't even thought about keeping that property at 12th Avenue, but it's certainly a valid point.
I will say, and I'll jump into this, whether I should or not, that when we talk about fire there, the issue is that you not only need enough space to park all of our rigs, but then enough space to park all of the fire company as they come in for a call. And I'm worried about that when you think about the amount of traffic and people that descends on that around 8 a.m., around between 2 and between 2 and 3 o'clock p.m. And I think that could be a really big hindrance to having a fire company station there. And I don't know.
Yeah, and we would also lose significant parking on that because they would have to yellow line out a very large section.
Yeah.
So you'd lose all the parking on probably a quarter of that block. So there'd be some real limitations to what could be done there.
Yeah,
All gotta be thought about.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Right, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and our last item is a resolution of the Borough of Belmar to adjourn into executive session. This is resolution 2026-178, whereas it has been determined by the Borough Council that it is necessary to discuss the following specific matter at its regular meeting in the absence of the public, which is contract negotiations, personnel, and pending potential litigation. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the Borough Council to exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting during which such matters are discussed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council as follows. The Council shall recess into a private executive session from which the public shall be excluded. that the scope of the executive session shall be limited to the matters as stated, that those matters discussed in executive session shall remain confidential until such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists as determined by the borough attorney, and that minutes of the closed session shall be taken and kept free from public review until such time that the need for confidentiality no longer exists, and that the regular meeting of the council shall resume after the executive session, at which time the borough council may take action in reference to the topics discussed. Do we have a motion to offer this resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Lubin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney,
Yes.
Councilman Maroney,
Yes.
Mayor Donovan.
Yes.